Hi, it's Malcolm from Aquaspray. If you have the original Kranzle foam bottle that doesn't seem to be spraying foam as it should, this is how you fix it. So this is the original Kranzle Foam Lance. This is manufactured by Kranzle. It's got logos everywhere, nice embossed on the bottle itself. There is obviously the measurements at the side, so if you're using inerter chemicals, you just put, say, a quarter in, fill it up with water to a litre, and then just use it. There's no dosage regulators or anything to worry about. You just mix it yourself and spray it on. It's very, very simple. This is the main thing to strip it down. So the first thing you want to do is just take the bottle off. You can take the pipe off, although you don't have to. There's nothing else in here. There's no non-return valves or anything. It's very, very simple. You take the lance nipple away. Sometimes these are Loctited quite heavily, and that will take sometimes the brass coupling off, which I'll do that anyway. You can see the Loctite on this bit here. So inside here, this is the main thing. If you've got a problem, chances are it's going to be this. So once you've taken the coupling out, inside here there is a nozzle. And if this nozzle is blocked, it will cause you a problem. So with a little flat screwdriver, you should be able to just take this out, and that's your nozzle. There's an O-ring at the back end of here. This O-ring, if it's split, it will allow the water to pass over the sides rather than go through the nozzle, and then it won't cause a good enough venturi for the chemical to work. So I will set all this up. So the coupling, and then you've got the brass housing. There's nothing else in this brass housing. There's just this one O-ring on the front here. If that O-ring's gone, you'll get either a leak or it won't suck chemical through to the venturi. So that O-ring sits there. You have this nozzle and a very, very small O-ring. I'll take it off just because I can. Careful not to break it because it is so thin. So that O-ring there, that O-ring there. So if that's blocked, you'll get a problem. The rest of it is pretty much basic. It doesn't do anything else. So you can take the front of this off with a little screwdriver just to prise that pin out, and then this will just pull away. Again, there's nothing inside this housing whatsoever. That's just where all the magic happens here. So I'll leave that there. This is your carrier for the little mesh that your chemical goes through. These are replaceable. You can get these as a spare part if it's damaged. I will try and get it out without wrecking it too much. Just like that. There is an O-ring on the side here, and I would say rather than an O-ring that would make something leak, it is literally just for friction, so that when you turn this, it will just stay in its place. So now we're looking a little bit more stripped down. There's nothing else in here. This is all completely clear apart from the fins. But if you needed to take that out for whatever reason, if you push the pins from the end, just get some side cutters to pull them out. Be able to just pull that off. Again, nothing else in that. That's just one solid bit of plastic. There is again an O-ring here. This O-ring would be more for a friction again, just to stop the end just flopping around. So O-ring and that. That is the foam lance completely stripped down. The only things you would really need to do is check for this, make sure that's not broken, this little mesh, and make sure that this is clear and the O-ring is okay on it. Apart from that, you've got an O-ring on this brass and inside of it, and then the rest of the O-rings are just for friction, so I wouldn't worry too much if they were gone. You would just get a little bit of slop on these. So putting it back together is pretty much straightforward again. So we just stick the O-ring into the recess and around. Once you just be careful with these not to bend it too much, but it should slot in, and then it'll make sure that it moves in and out, and then just put the pins in from, oops. There you go. Making it look harder than it actually is. Once that is done, we can put the mesh sort of filter, if you want, in there, and the O-ring over the top like that. Now that just pushes in and is held in with that O-ring, and then there is an O-ring there as well, so I sort of missed, but that O-ring is literally just to, all them are just for the friction, so that I would just stay there. If it wasn't there, it'd be really, really loose. If that other O-ring was there, it would be loose again. So don't do what I've just done and put that there. You need to take it off and get this bit of plastic where the pin fits in at the bottom end, so it just look nicer. So like that. Make sure that it moves in and out, left and right, and vertical, horizontal, with the pin in. And then we can put this O-ring back on here, making sure that everything is clear in there. Need to put this O-ring back onto the nozzle. Pop the nozzle in, and then just use a flat screwdriver, making sure obviously that is clear. Doesn't need to be tight, it just needs to be hunkered down to that O-ring, and then that can just screw into it. Probably put a little bit of Loctite on there if you feel that you need to, or PTFE, but don't overpack it with PTFE because it's going into this plastic. It doesn't need to be really, really tight. So if you are going to just put a dab of Loctite on both of them, just hand tighten it. This one actually has a sealing washer, dowity washer, but if you had some Loctite you wouldn't need it. You don't need any Loctite when you've got a sealing washer like that. Just needs to tighten up. Make sure that you don't over tighten it into the plastic housing because you can break it. So sometimes it's easier to let's say unscrew that a little bit, tighten the coupling into the housing, dab a Loctite, and then just screw it till it stops by hand. Done. Pipe on, bottle on, fill it with chemical, and go and spray. So if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. If you want to see any more of this type of video, please subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when one comes available.